What about,
And in
go ahead.
Europe, the GDPR came into effect just a few days ago. And so that's another reason we have Jetsa in our founding team, because blockchain and GDPR, the privacy laws, are a little bit difficult to unite. It can be done, but you need the real expertise to work on that.
I agree. Yeah.
Good.
Hey, Jose, how you doing? Can you hear us okay?
Great.
There
How are
you.
you guys?
Good.
Yeah,
We were
great.
actually just discussing the governance, the new constitution that was pushed to the community GitHub, and discussing basically we don't want history to repeat itself, right? We don't want to make the same mistakes that have been made before when a new society is created with a new government. Kind of. So, what are your thoughts, Jose? What do you think? And by the way, this is EOS Amsterdam. If you haven't met them already,
Hi.
Hi, hi.
Hi, Eos Amsterdam. I love Holland. I love the Netherlands. I love you guys. Um, so,
Good job.
so uh, I'm actually very glad of what happened this morning, because last night I was a little worried that we weren't going to be able to come together with a very minimalistic expression of our basic principles. And I'm glad with the new proposal that I helped to translate this morning, because I think it's a very simple agreement to begin with, and then it can evolve and receive a ratification from the blockchain once we are launched correctly, and everyone has enough time to ponder it and propose modifications. So I think I'm happy we took this step, and led by many of the folks you mentioned, who are trying to form this general assembly concept, which is still very very nascent. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited, and I think we're doing important and historic work. So I'm just honored to be a part of it.
now, Yetze, what are your thoughts in terms of? You were just saying. Can you reiterate what you were just saying to Jose as well, so we catch up a little bit?
About yeah, well, it's I think I mean you need a framework to work with, right? And what I've suggested to Thomas Cox a long time ago is also you need some kind a long time ago, that means like a couple of weeks, I mean maybe 10 days ago, that we should have some kind of a constitutional arbitration court, that if you have so many participants in the community, there should be people should rely that some of the most fundamental rules don't change, right? Like ownership of votes, stuff like that, and ownership, the important stuff. And we should therefore define some ground rules that definitely describe what EOS is about. And if we have those rules, we need some body to control that. So I think that would be the most important, let's say, part of the constitution to develop these days. And after that, you can zoom in on the details and work stuff out. But I think the the big the big the big the big product, the framework should be there before we launch even.
And yet, yesterday, Thomas Cox said 3 points that they're still under debate. One of them is whether block producers could be owned by multiple shareholders, or one shareholder could own multiple block producer. What's your thought on that?
Well, if you talk about a distributed network and you let that monopolize by a few owners, which is the result of one owner owning more block producers, that seems contradictory. So I would kind of vote against that. It's as easy as that.
Yeah, so they obviously had a limit there on the percentage, so that's what the debate was, what percentage.
Should it be zero yet? Do you have any historic knowledge on that? What is a good percentage? I remember the debate was 1%, 10%, or zero. What's your thought?
I think it kind of that's a lawyer's answer, right?
Convincing people of the need of it is harder. But if you have examples of people using this technology and just having a better time, and as the more and more people start to benefit from it, the more it'll become something others want. And
Sure.
that's why I think it's important to have people like Arturo on board, because they're being watched by others. And so if they demonstrate, and if our system, we succeed in building a fairer system and a better system, then it's just a matter of time and exposure.
Right. But also, you know, I think showing people the benefits of it is a really helpful, sort of enticing way. But like, I truly believe that there's it's not like a fear-based sort of tactic, but it's setting it as an example, like how, you know, your information is so easily attainable and reproduced by people you don't even know. Do you know? Setting that, especially Americans, like Americans really, they're really gung-ho about, this is my, you know, this is mine, like the laws that protect me, you know? And so I think it's going to be beneficial for us as well. I'm starting to think of videos, you know, in which I do a sketch show on Comedy Central. And like, how can we represent, you know, companies like Facebook as sort of the antagonist of a sketch? And like, and the more like, the more you make it sort of ridiculous and funny, the more easily it gets shared. You know what I'm saying? I think, and the great part is we have the opportunity and the budget and sort of the exposure level in order to do that. And so I'd also be curious to talk to you guys and to like get ideas from you as to like what a great approach would be for the millennial audience that seems to follow me around thinking that I'm Bruno Mars.
Congratulations on that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's something we have to do.
Well, they never thought I was Bruno Mars. No.
Kevin gets that all the time.
I'm happy to take the credit for his work at all times. But yeah, I'm curious to hear from you guys though. What do you think is, like, when you explain it to a person that has nothing to do with technology and sort of like they're new to the game, what is the one thing that always sort of like makes them perk up when you mention the technology? Like, what is the thing that people are most attracted to?
Pictures of your mom is going to be very effective.
Is that Bruno Mars?
Yeah, but what gets people excited when you talk to them? I'm genuinely curious.
Well, my audience is always very technical.
Okay.
So anything that has to do with the technology behind it can make them enthusiastic.
Okay.
The entrepreneurs I speak to are very interested in all this old tokenization. How we can create a completely new venture capital structure, monetizing structure, etc., etc.
Great.
Explaining it to my father was a challenge. That was a challenge.
He called me right after. I had to explain it again because you didn't.
Yes, it's really a mix-up of so many concepts, and so you have to try to understand what triggers the audience or the guy or girl that you talk to. What's there? My wife is Brazilian, and so everything that has to do with equality and transparency and getting the government to do the right thing is open for her. So it really depends on your audience.
Sure. For Guatemalans, transparency is a big one. You know, It's been going through sort of like a law renaissance with literally 4 of our ex-presidents are in jail or are about to be in jail. And yeah, to every Guatemalan we talk to, that sort of transparency and holding people accountable is something they really attracted to. You know.
Yeah, I agree with you completely.
Yeah, well, it's great. Suddenly we live in a kind of privileged society here, where there are issues comparable to yours, but they're on far smaller scale. So transparency is important here too. But
Sure.
for you, like life saving, and that's definitely. I do hope EOS will bring your country lots of good. Yeah.
Thank you.
There's always an other side, I believe, So when you have, let's say, all this transparency, and you have all this immutability, and you have all this, this possibility of essentially equalizing the whole playing field. So
right.
that the whole economy can become not only local but also international. And so that means that the less opportune countries can earn, let's say, can hook into, let's say, or the better economies. But there are also now the weight, with this transparency and this memory, you also have, let's say, the increase in value of your reputation, and so let's say there's good stuff with it, but there's also bad stuff with it. So because if you, for example, if you go through, let's say, a bad period of your life, you can make a few mistakes. And now suddenly these few mistakes are, let's say, locked up in a mutable chain, which will be there forever.
Yeah.
It's let's say, everything always has a trade-off, and what I often miss, is that, of course, it enables a lot, but we also have to be very careful in designing, our software and our devs in such a way that we also take into account, let's say, things that are, let's say, to prevent the technology to be used in a wrong way.
100%. I'm good friend. There's this show called Silicon Valley. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it.
I watch it.
It's on HBO, and this guy in it called Kumail. He's a friend of mine, and he was talking about how scary it was that people come up to him, because he's on that show, and
Which
they talk to them about Kumail. He's the Pakistani guy,
Oh yes,
Kumail,
I know.
yeah, he's fantastic. But people come up to him bragging about new technologies that they're coming up with, and when he asks them what's the moral implications of it, it's a shocking question, because nobody really stops to think about how it can be misused, and it scares him because it's sort of technology is like it's taking on a life of its own, and the important question to ask is, just because we can, should we, right? And I think it puts my heart at ease to know that we're asking ourselves these questions as we move forward, of like, who's this going to affect? What is the downside to it? Is creating this sort of like global transparency the exact thing how can people weaponize it, or how can people use it to harm others? And I think that's a very important question to ask.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I am so sorry that I have to leave off. I just wanted to come in and introduce myself. I will make my email available to you through Jose. I need to go sing backup for Bruno Mars now. I'm so excited, and I'm so honored to be a part of this. And again, anything that I can do to help you explain it to your audience, be it and entrepreneurs or his father, this is what I do for a living, and I'm happy to do it. Okay.
Thanks, Arturo.
Much love, great energy. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you, Arturo.
Thank you, Arturo.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think I'm signing off as well.
Okay.
I think you have more guests coming up. So thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for bringing the champagne. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Yetzi.
Great talking to you.
Thanks, guys.
Wonderful.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Thanks,
Bye.
EOS Amsterdam.
And we have
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Kevin. Blue Bye.
Sure. Yeah, and Jose, you're welcome to stick around. We have JP as well, John Paul from Yesterday Exploring EOS, the new podcast. Welcome, JP.
Thank you. It's good to be here. It's good to be back. I just love watching this stream, and it's great to be on here and hang out. Love what you guys are doing. So
We had Bruno Mars on.
I know. What a cameo. That was awesome.
It was a big surprise. Hey, actually, we have a breaking news update. Blue Jays.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's, how long is it?
There, it's done. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, breaking news, folks. So we have in London right now, there is an event going on, an EOS meetup, and there was just an announcement made. Let me make sure I have it correct here, but there's a $50 million venture capital fund that was just announced by SVK Crypto. It's a London-based fund to help fund projects on EOS. So a new venture capital announcement just came out. They announced it at that event in London, which is going on right now with EOS London. So another $50 million towards developers and teams and entrepreneurs working on EOS. What do you guys think?
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm super pumped about all this money coming in to just go towards EOS. You know, you think about all the dApps and crypto projects around the world. None of them have this much money behind them. You know, none of them are this well funded and in such a distributed way. So I'm just really excited to see what kind of innovation is unleashed by all of this. It's really exciting.
What kind of innovation you think is going to be unleashed?
Well, on one hand, I think it's one of those things that we can't really conceive of. You know, like there are going to be things that none of us have ever thought of. You know, Dan the man has never thought of. That's just a brilliant application of blockchain and specifically of EOS is only enabled by the fact that EOS exists. So there's that. But then, you know, there are all the other things that everybody's always talking about, you know, like social media, disrupting Facebook and Twitter and protecting our data. I'm interested to see what sort of kind of like a stable coin or something like that in terms of
that. You know, the block producing node is not known to anyone except the people behind each block producer as one of the key things, and also the multiple jurisdictions at least planned at the moment, and with the team that you support should have the capacity to do that, because that's something that I think sooner rather than later is going to be a thing we need to pay lots of attention to. So I'm very glad that Sebastian said that. And that being said, I'm gonna leave you guys to the party and continue with other efforts. But thank you guys so very much. And
get
Sebastian,
some sleep because tomorrow's gonna be, you know, get some sleep when you can.
Thanks, Jose. It was a pleasure having you.
Yeah. So
thank you, Jose. We'll see you.
See you tomorrow.
All right, see you tomorrow. Sounds good.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. No, I'm scared. And actually, we have Dutch EOS coming right on too, I should say. You guys are free to stick around if you